What up, people? It's your boy, Master Chudy, out here with another video. So, recently, I had a very good Memorial Day, worked out, relaxed with family. But I noticed that Captain Marvel had released some deleted scenes. And, there are a couple that I thought were good. I thought that her with Jan Rog, when they were talking to the Kree children, was actually a scene that I thought they should have kept because it would have added more depth to the movie in general. We could have seen, um, Jan Rog's character, but it also showed very legitimately good character chemistry between Jude Law and Brie Larson. But that's not the scene that we're talking about here. But I'm not even going to delve into that scene. Pretty much where Carol Danvers is basically threatening to rip off the arm of basically an idiot who was hitting on her. We've seen classier women do more subtle, embarrassing things than just be outright violent. But then again, she didn't need to even entertain him, and would just move forward. But it's brought up a lot of questions about the whole Captain Marvel movie. That Carol Danvers has no arc. Carol Danvers has no character. Carol Danvers doesn't go in and earn her power. She doesn't have a real conflict. And watching the film as a film itself, without the typical, let's delve into, without the typical need of politics, basically people looking for this movie to basically validate certain beliefs that they have, she doesn't have a character arc. And it's sad because when I watched the film, there was a good movie to be made in there. There was a good movie to be made. And they didn't bother going through it. So I have four main methods, or four different ways that the movie could have improved her character, could have made it more interesting, could have made her a little bit more memorable. There's a reason why I'm using Carol Danvers from Earth's Mightiest Heroes as the thumbnail to this, because like many of that show, I think almost every single character in that show was done good justice. Everybody was done well. I think that this was like the last great animated show Marvel has put out, and it's had great characters. One, but let's delve into what could be improved for Carol's character. One, I think, was to have her interact with Star Force. And I'm not talking about that scene where, they just make a little bit of jokes. I mean, really her interacting with Star Force, giving them an integral part of her character. I thought Star Force was one of the most underutilized concepts in the film. I thought all of the characters there had interesting potential, and it would have added more weight to Carol, saying whether or not they really betrayed her, because you turned them into antagonists. You completely 180 them into antagonists. Like, it would have been nice to see whether Korag actually had a good type of camaraderie with Carol, and then to see his change in the Guardians of the Galaxy would have probably added more weight, because he had a friend who was a hero, but then of course he was killed, so there was no point in that. But it would have been nice to see how Carol interacted with Star Force. She's fought with them for 6 years. To have the chick there say that, I just basically never liked you, yet you guys fought 6 years against the Skrulls, kind of begs that into question. It's hard to imagine that you just said, well, yeah, I just flat didn't like you. I don't care that we brainwashed you. Nada. It would have been interesting for them to add more depth to Star Force, which would have in turn added more depth to Carol, because let's say Star Force didn't know that she was brainwashed. Let's just assume that they saved her, gave her a blood transfusion, and because she had the blood of the Kree, she was essentially one of them. And they really liked that she was one of them. And they bonded. And so that when it came to the fact that, oh, Jan Rog lied to me, the Supreme Intelligence lied to me, the Kree elite, who might have been, the top of the top, if they have established that hierarchy, lied to me. So then Jan Rog orders Star Force to, we got to take Carol out, we got to take her prisoner. You could have had a little miniature thing with Civil War and Captain Marvel where, Carol doesn't want to fight her comrades. Maybe her comrades don't want to fight her, but her comrades are more into the Kree doctrine, which is something that EMH, Earth's Mightiest Heroes, did establish, that the Kree were set in their ways, that the Kree liked to conquer. That is why Marvel in Earth's Mightiest Heroes was such a interesting character, because he believed that humanity need not be destroyed. He believed that humanity had potential to fight the Skrulls, initially, but they just had potential in general. They shouldn't be destroyed, which went against every single member of the Kree, from Ronin to the Supreme Intelligence and to his fellow troops. He was that lone one. You could have had that with Star Force, saying that, put them in conflict, like, should we fight our comrade that we've grown to, see as one of us for 6 years? Or should we follow our duty as Kree soldiers to uphold the Kree doctrine and take her into custody, or even in the extreme case, destroy her? You put that conflict there, we could see that Carol had emotional ties to her, essentially, whether she was kidnapped or not, adopted world, because her memory was taken. She was saved. She had weight to it. And how are we supposed to empathize with that? That's an extremely powerful move, an extremely powerful character arc. That you have to fight against your former comrades, and you really don't want to. But as we saw in the movie, she had no compunctions on killing them or taking them out. And she just beat them like this, like, I guess y'all my enemies now. And I guess her friends were like, well, yeah, we are your enemies now, so we're going to fight. And, screw the past 6 years that we've had together. That would have added more weight to Carol Danvers. It's what she needed. She needed friendship. You can say what you want about Maria Rambeau, but yeah, they had friendship, but it wasn't explored until, oh yeah, we were friends. And I guess we're still friends, even though she hadn't seen her in 6 years. It would have been better for her to say, you know what, I don't know whether I can trust you. Or it would have been interesting if Maria Rambeau was a S.H.I.E.L.D. agent with Nick Fury, and Carol Danvers was on the run, and they need to capture her, they need to talk, and Carol's like, no, you're trying to capture me for whatever purposes you have. But that's neither here nor there. Number two reason, second way that Carol could have been improved upon within her own movie was to have the Kree basically go in and find a way to threaten Earth at the time when she was there. Now, yes, that would have created problems about, wait a minute, but if the Kree were threatening Earth, then, the whole thing with Avengers and everything like that, which is, this is more of a thing that I thought about that they should have done, but if the MCU was set up differently, but let's just go with this. We've all watched Justice League, well, most of us, I'm just going to say most people I know who probably watch this channel have watched the Justice League animated show. We all know about what happened with Hawkgirl, which is very similar and what could have been applied with Carol Danvers. Hawkgirl was sent as a spy to Earth. She followed her mission. She did everything like that. And the plan was that the Thanagarians were going to use Earth, create a warp hole, which would have destroyed the planet, but would have given them a tactical advantage against their enemies, the Gordanians, in defeating them in their war. And thus, that was Shiera's mission. Now, Shiera came there with the mission, like, I'm going to support my people, the Thanagarians, because I'm Thanagarian, and I have to support my homeworld, Thanagar, and we have to win this war against the Gordanians. So I'm going to infiltrate Earth, and I'm going to find ways, their weaknesses and everything like that, so that I can help my people, basically put in a tactical advantage. Now, flash forward to the season 2 finale of Justice League, and we see that basically, basically we see that, the Thanagarians are here. But she's been on Earth for so long, working with the Justice League, that, she's grown accustomed to Earth. She likes Earth and she wants to save it when she finds out that they're going to do this warp drive that's essentially going to go in and destroy the planet. She has grown accustomed to the people, she has grown to love them, and she has become a protector of the planet. And that had created conflict. It had created a character arc that Hawkgirl had to choose between her new home and her regular, actual home of Thanagar. Now let's apply that to Captain Marvel. Now, Captain Marvel would have benefited if the Skrulls were really the enemy. That they were evil, that they were ruthless. But then, of course, the Kree come to Earth, and they're like, look, we gotta destroy Earth, or we gotta enslave Earth, and use their resources and whatnot, because they have the resources, they've got the manpower, and they have technology that we might modify. We have a strategic point right here on Earth that can help us with our war against the Skrulls. Now, Carol coming to Earth and starts enslaving humans, people who are actually her people who look like her. She might come to thinking, wait, what's going on here? What's happening? And then that's when she just maybe so happens to meet Maria. And then Maria says, you are one of us. You are from Earth. Why are you doing this? And then Carol's like, no, I'm not from Earth. I am Kree. I was saved. And she's like, no, here's all this evidence that you are from Earth. Here's you in our military. Here's you as a pilot. Here's you with me as a friend. You were happy here. The Kree came and they kidnapped you. And they did all of this. And then Carol, over the realization of, say, however long this hypothetical movie would be thinking that, oh, I am human. But the Skrulls are really bad. And they do all this evil stuff. But then maybe another human being, or maybe Maria, with her daughter, seeing that, what are the Kree doing any different from the Skrulls? You're enslaving us. You've taken over. You've put us in the martial law. Maybe like how the Thanagarians did to Earth during the Justice League arc of that invasion. And then we see that Carol is conflicted, saying that, well, the Skrulls are evil, but how am I no better than the Skrulls if I'm enslaving my actual people? And so maybe she brings it up with the actual Supreme Intelligence, or Ronan, who I'll get to in a minute, and say that, look, this is wrong. And they'll be like, no, are you a traitor to the Kree cause? Are you really Kree? And Carol, who's been essentially on that planet for 6 years straight, nothing but Kree culture, nothing but Kree doctrine, will be conflicted, saying that, you know what? I don't like the Skrulls, but what you're doing is evil. I'm going to take you down. And then they fight. And then she leads maybe an uprising, and maybe she manages to get the Kree off the home world and everything like that with her superpowers that maybe was the reason they were holding her back in case they learned the truth, in case they ever went to Earth and maybe needed that to do that mission. It's a wish list, but I think it's something that would have helped improve her character. Another one would be to have had to have had Ronan and then actually Mar-Vell in their proper roles in this movie. So, in EMH, Carol Danvers got her powers because of Kree radiation that seeped into her blood and gave her the powers, it gave her superpowers, basically. It would have been better, I guess they kind of, broached that question already, that the ship released the radiation from the Tesseract and it gave her powers, that's fine. But it would have been somewhat better if Mar-Vell had powers, did something like that, was one of the Kree's top soldiers. And we all know that Mar-Vell's sacrifice in the comics is iconic, but we also know that in Earth's Mightiest Heroes, he protected Carol from a Kree sentry. And in this case, Yon-Rogg and a member of Star Force came in, and it would have been interesting to see, Mar-Vell go in and maybe take a couple of bullets for Carol, since the Kree was like, we don't need any witnesses. And, Mar-Vell could have just gone in and take the bullets for Carol, and maybe through through a battle, maybe it exploded the Tesseract that space speed engine, light speed engine, or whatnot, and it would have gone in and maybe given her powers. And then she'd be having these flashbacks of somebody saving her from somewhere. And if the Kree wanted to use that and manipulate them and put in the Skrulls and doing that and how she got her powers, that's fine. And then instead of having Jan Rog as the main villain per se, have him as a very devout Kree soldier with a certain soft spot for Carol, and have Ronan be the main villain, where Ronan is the one delivering this harsh Kree doctrine, which is what he's always done. That's what Ronan is. He is a zealot for the Kree cause, as opposed to maybe Jan Rog, who's not as domineering as Ronan. Have Jan Rog and maybe Carol come to terms saying that, look, this is wrong. Let's take down Ronan for what he's doing in the universe because he's not as bad as the Kree. I mean, not as bad as the Skrulls, basically. Then, so we've got into three things, basically. I mentioned that it'd be better if Carol went to Earth. Mentioned that maybe Ronan and Jan Rog should have assumed more traditional roles in the comics, would have added more to Carol's character. I mentioned that she needed to connect more with Star Force, which would have made for a better character arc for her, or would have added more to her character. The last one, which I'll mention, is that she needed to fight Jan Rog in battle. I remember watching this movie when it came down to it, when they both crashed on Earth, and Jan Rog was like, okay, it's like, you've done everything I've asked, you've become the perfect student, which would have been a twisted way of saying, like, hey, I'm proud of you. I'm proud of that my teaching has gotten to you. So prove it. Say, prove that you don't need your powers to beat me. Prove that you are a true warrior or whatnot. And you know what? Carol should have actually said, you know what? Let's throw down. Let's go at it. I was so deflated when she just blasted him because I was like, you've proven him right. That you are essentially nothing without this ultimate power. You know how satisfying it would have been for certain people who say, oh yeah, that was a satisfying ending, if Carol had actually gone in and defeated Jan Rog in one-on-one combat? It would have made to say, like, Carol's like, look, these powers don't define who I am. I'm a human being, first and foremost. I was already whooping ass before I got this amazing power. I was a soldier before I became a Kree soldier. I was already a actual capable human being before I ever met you. So you know what? I'm going to discard these powers. I'm going to take you down as an earthling. And then I'll put you in your place. And then I'm going to send you back to your people saying, don't mess with Earth. Don't mess with us. Because we are actually, we're the best of the best. We're the baddest of the bad. So I'm a protector of Earth. Boom. Jan Rog lost at his own game. He got beaten down by Carol. And that's that. And then that's when you'll have your actual character arc. That despite everything, despite the powers, she still defeated her enemy one-on-one on combat. One-on-one on combat. And then, you know what? Nope, there's a fifth thing, which I think would have benefited the movie greatly. Keep the Skrulls evil. Keep them evil. Keep the Skrulls evil. Have it like in the comics where you have two warring factions who have no allegiance to Earth, who both don't care if Earth is destroyed or enslaved, that would use Earth as a means to an end of their conquest or their perpetual conflict to ensure there will be a final victor. So that when Carol say, going back to my other theory of having her come to Earth and the Kree want to basically use it as a base or a whatever, maybe a war pole like they used in Justice League to gain an advantage on the Skrulls, she would be like, you know what? I gotta go to space, and I've gotta find a way to, say, sabotage both the Skrull and the Kree, maybe get them to the table, maybe find a way to end this war so that both sides can stop fighting because the galaxy suffers for it. As opposed to just finding the Skrulls a new home, and then we don't know exactly what she did in 20 years. She said she vaguely protected the galaxy, but she apparently did a poor job of it because she never met the Nova Corps. She never heard of Thanos, apparently, and I don't want to hear an excuse saying that she's heard of Thanos. It's clear that she didn't. Because if she did, I'm sure that basically she would have been trying to stop him long before then, and she would have probably mentioned that I've been fighting Thanos and his agents for the last 20 years. That would have been a better retort to War Machine saying that, not every planet has the Avengers. It's like, and when War Machine asked, hey, where have you been? She's like, well, while you guys are on Earth, I was fighting the acolytes of Thanos, basically. I was doing this, and that, trying to stop him, so I know how he works. I know how he thinks, but we don't get that. So, this was a video basically in response to what I heard from just some guy. I thought he came up with some great points. He did his thing, and I just needed to get this out. I think that Carol has been done a great disservice, not only in the comics but in her own film. A lot of the character arc building that she should have gotten, she didn't get. And as a result, I have a suspicious feeling that the second movie is going to end up doing what the first movie should have done and flesh out her character. Unfortunately, it's going to take place in like the 2020s in the MCU, almost a good 30 years after, she left Earth. So Maria Rambeau is old as heck, and definitely Monica will be in her 40s, and we won't know what to do with her because essentially, why give her powers at this late in the game? That's just me. But thank you all for watching. Please like, share, and subscribe, and hit the notifications. Make sure you're notified. Once again, I do these reviews and videos for you, the people, because I want to discuss content. Get your opinions on them. Get what you want to know. Please, in the comments, tell me what you think, and tell me if I'm right or am I wrong, or what I missed or what I should have added. Thank y'all for watching, and I should have some more videos up when I can. Peace.